Most cops do not like transparency, and the governors of those cops don't want them to be transparent. Now, there's no doubt that you've already heard that Ron DeSantis has signed 2 bills into law that will add an extra layer of protection, not for the people of Florida, but for the Florida policy enforcers. What will they be protected from? The bottom line is that they'll be shielded from civilian criticism and accountability, and more importantly, they'll be protected from your cameras and audio equipment.
The governor signed 2 new bills into law today that he says will support law enforcement officers. But critics say they take away our ability to hold officers accountable. News 6 investigator Mike DeForest joins us now live in studio. And Mike, law enforcement leaders support these new laws.
That's right, Justin. Governor Ron DeSantis here was surrounded by members of the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office and other law enforcement officials as he signed those bills today. Now, the governor says the new laws will help police and other first responders do their jobs without interference from other citizens. House Bill 601 bans cities and other governments from establishing civilian oversight boards that conduct outside reviews of law enforcement investigations and complaints about officer misconduct. Now, the new law will allow police and sheriffs to appoint civilians, but that's going to be only for the sole purpose of reviewing their agency's policies and procedures.
That's right. Zio Ron is going to make sure that your right to record and report is infringed upon. He wants you to stay back 25 feet. Let's face it, the further you are away from a roadside piracy operation, for example, the less you'll be able to clearly see and the less you'll be able to hear. Effectively, this means your First Amendment rights have been severely chilled. Ron wrote on his Facebook page, "I was proud to sign legislation today to ensure law enforcement officers can serve our communities without worrying about harassment from anti-police activists." All you got to do is scratch the word harassment and insert accountability. "We will continue to take action to ensure Florida remains the friendliest state in the nation for Florida's chapter of the Thin Blue Line Gang." In other words, the kind of active police criminality that was uncovered in the NYPD back in the 90s by the Mullen Commission will continue in Florida unabated, or at least the criticism can be drastically reduced. Let's be honest here. Everybody knows that cops commit crimes, and if those crimes aren't recorded, then they get away with those crimes. Even when they're recorded, as in the case of Daniel Shaver, Johnny Wheatcroft, and many others, the cops walk away free and clear, or they get cream puff penalties. The second bill he signed will put citizen oversight of law enforcement solidly under law enforcement control. In other words, they will oversee themselves and they'll get back with you. The one bill, SB 184, creates a 25-foot no-go zone around first responders, including police. The other one, HB 601, would limit what citizen police oversight boards can actually do, including investigating complaints of officer conduct, and they would require these panels to be reestablished under county sheriffs and municipal police chiefs, who would appoint the members who would be sympathetic to the Thin Blue Line, of course. Here's how SB 184 reads. An act related to impeding, threatening, or harassing first responders. And we'll get to the definition of harass in this bill in a second. Providing definitions, prohibiting a person after receiving a warning not to approach from a first responder who's engaged in the lawful performance of a legal duty from violating such a warning and approaching or remaining within a specified distance of the first responder with specified intent, providing criminal penalties, and providing an effective date. Be it enacted by the legislature of the state of Florida. Approaching a first responder with specified intent after a warning, as used in this section, the term first responder includes a law enforcement officer as defined in this section right here, a correctional probation officer, firefighter, and so on. Harass means to willfully engage in a course of conduct directed at a first responder which intentionally causes substantial emotional distress in that first responder and serves no legitimate purpose. This is all subjective, and they can literally say that you harassed the cop by holding up your camera within 25 feet after he told you to leave his comfort zone. It is unlawful for a person after receiving a verbal warning not to approach from a person he or she knows or reasonably should know is a first responder who is engaged in the lawful performance of a legal duty, including legal roadside piracy, to knowingly and willfully violate such warning and approach or remain within 25 feet of the first responder with the intent to impede or interfere, threaten the first responder with physical harm, or harass the first responder. A person who violates this subsection commits a misdemeanor of the second degree, punishable as provided in these two subsections right here, which equates to a $500 fine or 60 days in jail or both. Here's Ron to explain his position.
So we're going to do a couple bills that I think provides support for people who are wearing the uniform and recognizes that, we've got some strange currents going on in our society right now that really seek to delegitimize law enforcement and what they're doing. So the first bill, SB 184, is going to prohibit the harassment of a police officer or first responder when they're actively doing their job. You shouldn't be in a situation where you're at a traffic stop, you're responding to a call of someone in distress, and then you have people come trying to interdict or trying to harass you from performing your duty. So if you do that, we view that as a problem, and now you're going to be held accountable. The other bill is HB 601, and what it's going to do is it really puts the kibosh on these extrajudicial investigations against law enforcement. They'll set up these things called citizen review boards, usually in these very tilted politically jurisdictions. They'll stack it with activists, and they'll just start reviewing things and trying to put people under the gun, even if there's no basis to do that. So we view that as very much a political weapon. We don't think that that will contribute to public safety at all. In fact, we think that that would hurt public safety. And so this bill really stops that from happening. If you have review boards, that's fine, but it's got to be done in ways where you have the sheriff or chief of police appointing people, because the sheriffs and the chief of police, they have an interest in ensuring that their personnel are conducting themselves appropriately as well. I mean, good order and discipline is very important, but it can't be people that have an agenda.
Yeah, everybody's got an agenda, Ron, including police departments. We haven't seen case after case where police and sheriff's departments prove they have an agenda. We didn't just see where the Washington State Patrol, with their desire and agenda to cover for a trooper's mistake, conspired to ruin a truck driver's life. We haven't seen body cam footage where it was the officer's agenda to take someone's freedom away. Yes, we have. We've seen it a lot.
Now, the governor says civilian oversight boards are often politically motivated and interfere with law enforcement's ability to do their jobs. But supporters of those civilian boards believe it adds an extra layer of accountability.
Wouldn't it be nice if the governor cared as much about the people as he cared about the thin blue line? What if he said in his Facebook post, "I was proud to sign legislation today to ensure Floridians can pursue life, liberty, and happiness without worrying about harassment from the thin blue line gang"? What if he said, "We will continue to take action to ensure Florida remains the freest state in the nation for Americans who want to live at peace and be left alone"? DeSantis's move merely echoes the sentiment expressed by other Florida officials like Sheriff Mike Chitwood from the Volusia Sheriff's Office, who recently posted the face of James Madison audits on his Facebook page in a thumbnail style that reads, clowns of YouTube. In his disdain for the freedom of the press, Chitwood writes, "Technically, these are adults, but let's be honest, they're full-grown children. They call themselves First Amendment auditors or citizen journalists, but the rest of us know them as pests. Maybe you've seen them causing a scene at the DMV or City Hall. We see them walking up on traffic stops and investigations to cause a scene and play the victim. It's not about the First Amendment for these clowns, and it's not about safety or transparency. It's about baiting someone into a reaction that will turn into a video that makes money." Let's just be honest. There are some auditors who are jerks. They're provocateurs that look like they're trying to aggravate others. Some are belligerent and mean-spirited. On the other hand, there are many that are respectful, professional, and knowledgeable, and Chitwood doesn't delineate between the two. Many of these auditors just walk up to a traffic stop or into a post office or in a public place and silently record. They don't speak unless they're spoken to. James Madison audits SJVT, Jeff Gray, the Armed Fisherman, J-Town Press. They all arrive at a scene and professionally and politely assert their rights. Most of the time when auditors are out there recording, the ones acting like clowns are the uniformed road pirates who got their feelings hurt over a camera. They're the ones calling backup over a camera. They're the ones who fear for their own safety because of a camera. But it's not just any camera they fear your camera. So what's up with that? But even the auditors who are belligerent and difficult to deal with, they don't even come close to adding to the amount of bad will and negativity into society that cops do. Chitwood continues, "Sometimes it turns into following individual deputies or employees and putting a target on them." What the heck does he mean by that? There are plenty of angry losers across the country who despise law enforcement and hate government enough to spend their pathetic lives watching these videos. I would say it's more pathetic living as a parasite off of the tax cattle. For the record, anyone who works for me is authorized to ignore any of these miserable clowns and focus on the task at hand. The inability to ignore people with cameras is exactly what makes the content, Chitwood. The cameraman isn't creating the viral moment. Your cops breaking their own laws, shattering windows, dragging people out of their cars for no reason, and trampling rights is what creates the viral moment. I'll leave the link to DeSantis and Chitwood's post if you want to add to the lively conversation. And it definitely is lively. So what do you think? Should there be a 25-foot rule? If somebody's within that zone, should they be punished? Is this a violation of rights? Does such a law help the people or does it help the cops? Does it do both? Does it do neither? Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comment section below. If you haven't done so already, grab a shirt, become a channel member, but more importantly, know what your rights are and fight for your rights. If you don't exercise those rights, you will lose them. I will see you in the next video.